Hello, everybody. It is Adrian Chenault here with my dear old dad, Tom Chenault, and two of not only my favorite people in the network marketing profession, not only two of the people who I admire the most in the network marketing profession, but two people who I just hugely respect and look up to and have learned so much from and continue to this day. And I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've gotten to have them both together on the show, which is a huge honor and pleasure. And so Curtis Broome and Lisa Grossman, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
Hey, great to be here. I think we were on together once like 3 or 4 years ago, but I don't think that really counts.
My memory is not very good.
I respect the difference, but maybe you just next time say you're here with your dear dad.
There we go. It was, Curtis literally, as we're going live, goes, "Don't screw it up." And I think that just really, you shook me, buddy.
Shook me. All of us with gray hair wish we maybe had, it is wisdom, though. It is wisdom.
There we go. That is so awesome. And the three of you guys got to hang out recently in Dallas, so that's pretty cool too. Yeah. And man, this is exciting. I'm so grateful to have you guys here. And man, it's an exciting time in the world of network marketing. Lots going on, and I know you guys always have your finger on the pulse. And so, Curtis, I'd love to maybe go to you first and just hear from you on what you see going on in the world of network marketing right now, and what has you intrigued and excited these days.
Well, it's what we've always seen. This profession always evolves. Some do it a little more rapidly, others are a little slower. And so there's so much conversation. There are some companies that have transitioned out. There are people who are deciding they want to do different things and have more flexibility. Here's ultimately where I think the foundation is going to remain the same. Network marketing is more than the product or the service you're offering, and hopefully they're of great value. It's creating a place where ultimately what you have are people who can form a community and build that with strength and build those relationships. And so I think what happens at a time like this with transition, you sometimes get people focusing on a technology or a transition, and sometimes maybe even forgetting, hang on a second, we have something magical that you don't get in a lot of other environments. So it doesn't mean you ignore them. And it doesn't mean you can't learn from them. It doesn't mean you can't adapt or incorporate. But don't forget who you are. And who you are, it's about people, it's about relationships, human beings. Even if we're really digital, it's still about connection. So it's interesting to watch this transition, and you see some really moving, I think, smoothly, and you see others really struggling. They're not trying to find their footing. And I think the challenge is they're looking at technological changes rather than understanding and leaning into the foundation of who they are. And it's about building a solid group of people who love and enjoy and learn and lead and are inspired by and learn from and are coached and grow through those relationships. So I think it's an interesting time to see this challenge, but there are some who are navigating really well and others who are having some struggle right
now. I think that's really well said. And, one of the things that stands out to me, right, the more there's a million technologies out there in the world, right? You could have a Shopify shop. You could do this. You could sell on Amazon. There's all these different things. And I think one of the things that comes out of that is actually really clarifies the reason why network marketing needs to exist in the niche that it occupies, which is that there are just channels and there are products where it makes more sense. It's better for it to be sold and experienced in this community in a way that's really different from the sort of arm's length, buy a TikTok ad, do whatever you're doing kind of world where you're just, you don't ever talk to a single person, right? And Lisa, I know this is something you think about on a very deep level. What do you think about that?
I think that the world is evolving at a rapid pace, and network marketing along with it. And I think there are some very exciting realities that can propel network marketing to its destiny that frighten a lot of people. I think there are a lot of things today that have to be tighter and operate better than perhaps we did many, many years ago. When I got started, they always said, you always want to be marketing a product that you would use whether it was connected to an opportunity or not. I think it was true then. Whether people accepted it as true or operated with that premise or not, I think today it's crucial. I think that if you have a company and you don't realize that network marketing is many, many things, but from a business standpoint, it is a mechanism for creating a successful brand. And a successful brand is a product that people use over and over again. A successful brand is not an opportunity, because although everyone can have the opportunity, it is a different opportunity for every person that experiences it. That's the beauty of network marketing. Within a framework, you can be the person who wants to make $300 a month and never leave your neighborhood or go online, or you can be the person like Curtis and I were, that lived on airplanes and saw the world and helped many, many people do that. So the framework of it's an opportunity business is really not accurate. But the customer acquisition, if you're a company today and your ultimate goal, like every other business, is not to build a base of consumers for your good product or service that is long-term, then there is no sustainability longevity factor in place. So the moral of that story is, if a company has a product that you love, no matter what, that is, and you will use it no matter where it came from, and they're fiscally sound and all the other things that make a good company, that's amazing, and you can do great things with it. It doesn't need to be incredibly unique. Everybody always says, well, that's me too. Chanel does great. Shiseido does great. Revlon does great. That's not the issue. However, if you are wanting to have a hero product or take a product out into the marketplace that will explode you or propel you to your next evolution of growth in an existing company, having a product that is unique, or unique in the way that you describe it, or unique in the way that you teach people to apply it, bringing something to them that they haven't heard before to get through the noise, can be very beneficial. But I think at the end of the day, if you are a happy consumer, you can do anything from there all the way to the top of the mountain, because the anchor will and always should be happy consumers.
In fact, let me add on that, because there was something that Lisa said that I think it goes by so quickly, but it's so important. And it really is. The companies of the future, whether products or services, they need to have an offering. Sometimes what happens is company thinks customers, promoters.
Yeah.
First and foremost, if everyone's not truly an excited consumer, then you have an issue, because now you're going to have to start pitch and sell or do something else. And the reality is that, and this is something Lisa and I used to have shared forever, humans don't gather, distributors, promoters, even people, we don't gather customers. Our objective is to create an offering so people are willing to try. The product creates the customer. We could walk through your house. We've said this forever. You could walk through your house. I could see brand names in your kitchen or your bathroom. You bought it and tried it for whatever reason. Something caught your attention. But your experience is why that is your brand. And so that's why what she said, if there is a product or a service, if there's an offering that you would consume because it's benefits you, and whether it's unique or not, it's just the value you perceive is so good that regardless of an opportunity or having an upline, downline, or any of those fancy, if it was something you would always consume, that's really where you've set a standard, because it's about building and growing constant consumption. And we to this day, we've got some products that have been a part of our life for a decade, and you'd have to pry them out of our hands. That's where I think it is. And I loved when she said that. That's really a key.
I think there's a distinction in understanding or what a customer really is to a business guy. Tom would understand this because he has a background in, financial planning, and companies have always want new customers and new clients, but the value of something truly is the long-standing user. So the life cycle of a customer in reality is, first, somebody's a tri-sumer, whether it's in network marketing or anywhere else. They've never used this product. They try this product. They bought it and they tried it. That's a tri-sumer. Then if they like it and say, do you know what? This is the shampoo I like. I'm going to use this one from now on. Now they are a consumer moving into like a raving fan type of thing. And at that point, if they decide they want to share it, they become a sell-sumer. They're a consumer who's sharing it, or a share-sumer with other people. And after that, You have people that say, you know what? I'm going to go build networks and communities and virtual groups and kiosks and countries and cities of groups of people that are in these various categories. And that really is where you move from building an income to building an empire, when you transition the tangible that we all understand. This product, I like it, I buy it, I use it. You bought it for me, you bought it, you like it, you use it, I make money because I introduced you. And when they really move to the big picture of what this is, that you are ultimately looking to create, if you want the top of the rainbow in network marketing, you are electing to become a CEO of a multi-million-dollar distribution network. And ask yourself, how many CEOs of multi-million-dollar distribution networks like Coke or Pepsi don't love and know their product inside out?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't mean they know all the science. I mean from their own personal experience and how their family loves and enjoys it. So I'll give it back to you, Adrian. That was probably a very long answer to the question you answered.
No, I liked it, and I like this little distinction, right? A prosumer to a consumer to a sharesumer, right? Like that's that journey that you go on, and that's where it becomes self-sustaining when that progression happens naturally. And to Curtis's point, right? There's other ways you can get there. There's other ways that sometimes somebody is maybe not as passionate about their product and they're passionate about the opportunity, but that's a much, much more difficult thing to sustain and almost impossible to sustain.
You know what's interesting? Here's something that's interesting in the evolution that I think upsets a lot of people today. There was a time in network marketing, and I lived in it, where skill set, like being able to present well from stage, being able to articulate the message, being willing to travel, doing all of these things, was so necessary to the lifeblood of a network marketing company, because truthfully, if they elected to go network marketing and not advertise, how else was the message going to go from place to place and person to person to person? It was necessary. Today, because of technology, I'm not saying that's not necessary, but it's not as valuable as it once was, because today, regular everyday people, aided by social media and just their comfort level in sharing with others, are able to create great incomes one to them outside by sharing products that they love. Therefore, network marketing companies had to, the ones that are successful today, that are growing, had to adjust their compensation structures to reward the person who got the customer and the person who helped the person learn how to get a customer more. And in order to do that without having inflated prices that can't sustain the marketplace, they've had to adjust the amounts that they were putting other places. And a lot of leaders who didn't really understand plans, or didn't understand that sometimes the smallest number is the biggest number, didn't like that, because suddenly there was less commission being paid indirectly in order to free up commission to be paid directly. But that is what is propelling the modern companies into their greatness, because today I don't have to travel all over the world. I can if I want to. I don't have to carry huge conference call bills and hotel room costs like I did back then, maybe occasionally for a big event. So if they look at the changing marketplace, to me, I never made as much money in this space, although I love to build teams and I can certainly recruit and I always go global, as when I was in I'm still in an opportunity that allowed and rewarded the people that just were talking to people about the product. When they can make a good income and they can see it, we always said you buy it wholesale, sell it retail, but today you can just go point people to your website or share your product and get a nice healthy commission when they try it. That is what exploded companies during the pandemic, and those that understood the message there and adapted coming out of it, instead of thinking that was going to last forever without innovation, growth, and paying attention to their intention to take care of the people actually having conversations with that new trier. They're the ones that are going crazy right now. And the legacy companies that have recognized this are the ones that are having the courage to reinvent themselves, even if it means not everybody understands why. Sometimes you have to let the time prove you right, because you can't get the person to understand in the short term why it's beneficial to them.
Yeah.
The challenge I think companies face is there is a massive amount of opportunity today for people if they're willing to put it. It's called network marketing for a reason, the work emphasis. But it is much simpler. First of all, you have to understand there's a difference between simple and easy. Okay. Anything that you don't have skill in, that you wish to develop skill in, that's not easy, because it just takes effort. You just don't fall off a turnip truck and it lands, but it's not complicated. And today, where I think the future is going is that you have to in leadership, everybody needs to look at the bigger picture. Lisa put it brilliantly. The real reality. And listen, we've been a part of public companies. At one time, I was a president of a NASDAQ traded company. So from a financial analysis standpoint, we understood our numbers down to the nitty gritty. And when she says sometimes the smallest number is the largest number, it's all about perspective. In today's world, there are so many people who are seeing others, and it doesn't mean they'll be able to replicate it, but they're more open to saying, if I can just share without having, I can be a stay-at-home mom, or it can be a part-time thing, using the digital mechanisms and the tools, and there are things that I can learn. I don't know that I really am tuned in or have this desire to lead others. And it doesn't mean that won't change for them. They're wondering, where do I start? And so the companies, and Lisa was correct, during the pandemic, and it's now ripple affected, that companies that built a mechanism that truly fairly rewarded those who acquired the trisumer, let's put it that way, and then learned how to develop and build. Sometimes people talk about all these big incomes. The reality is it's still that same 300 to 500, because it means their product's really free and it's something they felt comfortable. And so what happens is today, then the way leadership evolves, if I've just mastered how to gather that handful of 5, 10, 15, or 20 consumers, and now I may not be an expert, I may not be the biggest in the world at it, I feel comfortable. Is there anybody who would like me to coach them? Because that's a mechanism, and that's really where the leadership is coming. But it still comes back to that. If you build a giant base, and if now we just adjust the plan a bit so there's a little bit more, so the person who really brought that new that trisumer to the environment, whether it's a product or a digital service, bring a trier, then you build armies of individuals who feel I can at least teach that. And what happens is, as they teach others to do that simple thing and teach them to teach that simple thing, sometimes the few wake up and go, oh my gosh, I am a leader. And
Curtis,
that's where it's going.
This is such a trigger point, sweet spot for Curtis and I, that I think maybe Adrian would like to take, and our audience might like to go and talk about some other things now. So we'll go back to them.
Here's one question that comes out of this for me, that I think, because I'm never surprised, but always amazed by the number of companies and owners and top leaders who call you guys and say, hey, this isn't working, or this could work better. What should we be doing differently? And so I know you are actively in some conversations like that right now. And when you look at what are the types of shifts that need to happen for companies to adapt to the times and to be the most effective today, what's something that stands out to you that, as let's take it from a leader's perspective, that as a leader, if I can do more of this, it's going to help my team to be more successful right now?
Let Lisa take that. She's probably had 5 of those in the last week.
Kind of a challenge in network marketing. And yeah, if you see it, because you see it in network marketing and you see it in sports. There's probably some other places, but I don't know what they are. I applaud, and I am in love with high achievement. And in the traditional business world, if somebody is the president of a company, like whatever company you can come up with, Apple or something, it's obviously they have a plethora of achievements, and they obviously have leadership skill. They are the president. In network marketing, I have seen very high achievers who do not necessarily have leadership skills, and that's okay. They just made a lot of money, but we identify them as a leader. Sure. When they are in fact really a very high achiever. Same thing. I've seen some incredibly high achievers in this athletic world who, once they're out of sports, they either went broke, they never knew how to behave themselves when they were being interviewed, they were paid children is how they appeared, but they had incredible talent and achievement. And yet there are those that you look at today that in the business world have not only amassed fortunes, but they've helped other athletes do the same. So I always want to clarify, when you're asking, network marketing identifies a leader as somebody who's making a lot of money and has a big group. I identify a leader by the leadership skills that they represent and demonstrate in the way that they operate their businesses and their lives. They're not the same. But people that truly have leadership turn the camera around. They're not caught up in a selfie mentality world. I talked to some people yesterday who shall remain nameless, and I won't even name the company, but I did talk to people separately and apart that were from the same company. Both were trying to achieve a rank. One called me and they started talking about, I want to help Mary get to ensign, and I want to help Susie get to commander, and I want to help Jay get to Starfleet commander. And when they do, and I'm making up all these names, you know what I'm talking about, when they do, I am going to be a 4-star Starfleet commander. Then I had somebody else call me, and all they could talk about was, I need to get to Starfleet commander, and they were so focused in on their own goal. That to me is a big problem, because if you can only see or are only looking as to how it affects you, it's not about that it's selfish or it's wrong or any of those things. We're talking business. You are not seeing the big picture. You do not have a perspective and a vantage point where you can be of service to anybody, because while network marketing runs on a calendar and will continue to, and dates like end of the month and end of the quarter and the campaign and 90-day runs all matter and are integral parts of accelerating the growth within organizations.
Yep.
Long term of planning for a business is twofold in looking out, where did this decision that we make today, are we going to love, are we buying time, which is okay. Sometimes you need to do that. Is it good today? Is it going to be good in 6 months? Yeah. Where is it going to lead us in a year? Because that's the way you have to be thinking when you're growing a business. And so often they get caught up in such inherent short-term thinking that the long-term vision, if there ever was one, has completely been obfuscated and nobody could tell you what it was. Yeah. I'll give you an example. I consulted for a company once, and I went to the company and I worked in I wanted to spend 3 hours in customer service. I was actually a customer service girl. Okay. And I talked to all the executives. I said, what's the company's mission? And one person told me one thing, another person told me another thing, another person told me another thing. And by the time you got to customer service, they were like, stop these people, get these people's problems solved so they don't yell at me. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's important. I want a customer service department that operates nicely and respectfully and makes people feel good and solves their problems. But if customer service is like, I just want to get off the phone and not be yelled at by these people, and that's their life's mission, that's kind of lost the long-term vision of the company. The most important thing is knowing your vision. Vision, if it's clarified, is great. People, there's vision, there's mission, there's strategy, so vastly different. A vision is never going to be solved in your lifetime. A true vision. Yep. The World Hunger Organization, they want to end world hunger. And every single day they go to work with the firm belief that they are going to end world hunger and the extreme knowledge that it will never happen in their lifetime. Now, think about that. But that's the vision. The mission is, how many people are we going to remove from being hungry this year? How many meals are we going to serve this year? How many more people can we reach this year? And then the strategy is exactly how are we going to make that happen? So vision should be locked. Vision should not be all that fluid. The vision should be so articulate in your mind that it's no different than a painting that hangs over your fireplace. You can see the future. The more clearly you can see the future, the more clearly you can live in it. Will the mission change? Of course. Will it adapt? Certainly. Will strategies that were incredibly effective before that no longer work today have to be tweaked? 100%. But everything begins and ends with vision, because the person who has it and can articulate it becomes the leader, because most people are looking for a certainty that they do not themselves have. And that's the flip side. Just because somebody is certain and will lead you, where is it that they're leading you to? That's where the leadership comes in. That's where understanding the vision, so you know if it's one that you align with, makes sense. Because if I embrace a vision and I align with someone's vision, I don't care about the setbacks. I don't care if a few things go wrong. We're changing the world, baby, and we know exactly what the world we're creating and that we've committed to looks like. So all the rest to be expected. But if it's just about how much money am I making and my check's not going up anymore, and the company down the street is doing it better, there's not really any roots there. Having said that, companies have a responsibility to continually re-articulate that vision, help people embrace that vision, innovate so that they can be loyal and true and serve that vision well, so that people can continue to believe in it. But I think it really does come down to vision and a commitment to commit to the thing that you're creating, because it's not going to be created overnight. Not the overall vision of the company, not the vision that you embraced when you joined a team, not the vision that you articulated and formed for yourself, for your life, when you went out and started to share the story. And once again, another long-term vision, long answer. Sorry.
I love it. Your energy just blows me away. So I love it, and that was a great answer.
I saw a great comment come across, Tom, from your excellent better half, the amazing Denise. And she said, is it inherent that leaders duplicate? Here's what I think, and I think it comes back to achievers versus leaders. We often misuse that word leadership, and it's based on a check. It's not a check. Sometimes a brand new person, never done network marketing. The very first day I met him, I said, you're one of the best leaders I've ever met. You just haven't fulfilled it yet. And what it was, I had a mentor a long time ago say, here is the concept. You can't take people where they don't want to go, but you can take them through a baby step that they're not afraid to take and let it happen. And he said, put this perspective, this is where leadership really shines. And I saw someone else, I saw Jordan come through a second ago, and he exemplifies that as well. What he'd said is your objective, if you wish to reach that elite leadership, and if that's what, I was having a conversation very early in my career, I've been failing for a couple of years. He said, this needs to be your objective. Now I understand this 35 years ago, so we're talking all physical, but it still works today in a digital Zoom or a live stream kind of a thing. He said, your objective should be to become on stage qualified. And let me explain that to you. I'm not saying you have to be on stage. Some people are terrified, but typically back in the old day, who was the person up at the front of the room? They understood the company. They understood the vision. They had the mission embedded, but they could articulate the vision. They understood the product. They understood the compensation. They were there to communicate. He said, the challenge is, here's the difference between leadership and achievement. Achievers, you can almost tell who they are, because when they get to the stage, they never
get off.
They never want to drop.
Never get off.
They never want to make room. They bask in the glory. They love the applaud and the cheers. He said, this should be your objective. Your objective should be, as rapidly as you can get there, become on stage qualified. And the very second you get there, if you are truly a leader spirit, you will have a burning desire to get off that stage as fast as you can, never to return, replaced by those who you helped get to that point, so that you can, for the rest of your career, live in anonymity at the back, because you're seeing all these people who have the same mentality. I get there so that why do I want to do it once? If I've done it, I know it can be done. Nobody can tell me it can't be done, and I can help other people do it if they're willing to put in the effort. And he said, if you develop that mentality, that's leadership. I would rather be in the back cheering and screaming, and somebody asks who I am. Oh, I just got good friends here, because I'm letting them repeat that. And that's really, that becomes the mindset. So back to Denise's comment, is it inherent that leaders duplicate? If you have that true leadership, then your objective is, I may need to do, or I can't coach or teach and evolve, but I'm here to help others. So I'm not grinding for the rank or the end of month or the target. I am constantly looking for whom is close that I can help, so they can grow in themselves. That's the difference. That's where you find it.
And I want to jump in on that on a couple of things, because this comes down to what true success is. There are so many things that I could define a great network marketer. So many adjectives I could give you as to what I consider to be great. With obvious attributes, I believe in integrity, honesty. You have to be trusting others so that they will trust you. However, at the end of the day, if you are a great network marketer, it's because you are a great storyteller. What happens to a lot of people, what Curtis was talking about, is they somewhere along the line stop becoming a storyteller and they become the story. You don't want to become the story. If you're never getting off the stage, that means your business is never going to grow any bigger than you. And think about this. It's okay to have goals, but somebody says, I want to be Starfleet commander because it's the top of the tree. And when they get there, like Curtis said, they don't want to give it up. And you talk to people in their downline that don't understand why they feel like their upline is acting like an employer or doesn't want to won't let them get on the stage or is shading them. You know what true success is to me? I want 10 Starfleet commanders on my front line, all on stage. I want to be in the back of the room clapping for them, and I hope everybody thinks I'm the janitor. I want to be so unnecessary to the continued growth of my business, changing lives around the world, that if I get hit by a bus or if I go to Mumbai, or realistically, because I've been dealing with this for the last 6 months, I'm going on a cancer journey. That means I don't have the ability, the time, or not, quite frankly, the desire to go be stage worthy today, that the business goes on. So in answer to your question, Diane, Denise, I think that people confuse duplication with replication. Let me explain. You can duplicate systems. We create systems and frameworks for people to operate within. And people can be very successful doing that. McDonald's created a perfect replication system. So if somebody wanted their own business, they could buy a McDonald's franchise and follow all of those instructions and have a very nice living. And that's where most people's imagination stops. Now, somebody looks at it and says, wow, I want to have a string of McDonald's. If I'm Ray Kroc and I started it, that's the person I'm likely to find myself in. They see a bigger picture. So what we do all day is we go out and we replicate behaviors and patterns and create paths for people that are easily able to be followed through a systematic approach so that they can get a result, get what they're looking for. In that process, every now and again, you will find a bigger thinker, a person who, like you, others think is some sort of a freak that was born on Mars, that looks at the world completely differently through a different lens than everybody around them, that most of the people in their circle think they're nuts and continue to do so, that has finally gotten to a point in their life where they say, you know what? I am different than everybody around me. Thank the good Lord. And when you find that person, you can duplicate. So now there is another you out there, but that doesn't mean they do it exactly like you. That doesn't mean they think like you. That means they have an ability to lead, inspire, articulate, stay true to the cause, show up even when they don't feel like doing it, and to make sure the replicable system is adhered to. Even if they have a different story, a different background, and they go about it a little bit differently, they still understand the power of being able to take a movement mass around the world is the systematic approach. So it's the person that doesn't live inside the box, but understands how to operate the box, how to stay true to the box, because that's where most everybody else needs to operate in order to survive and thrive. Does that make sense?
100%. And just to go back for a second to Curtis's comment about the stage, that's so powerful. And I instantly, as you said that, you got pictures of people in your head in category 1, and you got pictures of people in your head in category 2. And we won't name any names, but you know the difference when you see it, don't you?
Well, let's do this. Let's give everybody, here's a tip and trick, right? We all started, at least this November, we all started 37 years ago. So it was all hotel rooms and stuff, right? But where my mentor did it.
How many years have we been doing this now?
Well, in November, it'll be 37.
Well, I started,
doing
30.
36
I
and a half
started
right
in
now.
88. So where is that now?
That's 36 and a little half, almost a half. So we're there. But here's what he
Okay,
did.
thanks.
What he would
Sorry.
do is let's say there's 10 ranks, and everybody starts at rank 1 like high. You just signed a form, but rank 2, you had 3 or 4 people you actually got to try a product, whatever it may be. Is he said you can't lead people where they refuse to go. You can show people where it's possible to go. But if they're at least willing, it's not, somebody has to be fully stage ready. How do you start the process? So here's the thing. And we used to do it in the physical days. You could do it today on Zooms. If you have team meetings. In other words, he said, here's where you start somebody. Ask them if they'd be willing to just set the meeting just before the MC and the presenter come in. And we said, sure. So we would tell people this can be very simple. It's only about 4 sentences. Would you be willing just to grab the microphone, step up and welcome everybody, thank them for being here? Couple of things to be aware of, back in the physical days, please turn off your cell phones so don't make noise, do this, and then please hold your question, or whatever it was, 3 or 4 sentences. Now let me introduce your host, here you go. On a Zoom, you've got someone and you give them an opportunity to say, listen, we're going to glorify you, whatever it may be, but doesn't have to be terrifying. What happens is if someone can just take the first step that is beyond pitch your friends or talk about just do this one thing, what happens is you create a mechanism, because what's their next step? Will then be the MC. You're not responsible for anything. You don't have to know the product. You don't have to know the story. Just the person's going to set it. They're brand new. You're now the next stage. You're going to actually just host and say, in other words, the little bitty things that you can create mentally. So whether it's digitally and online or wherever it is, where you can give people an opportunity. And all of a sudden, there were people who were dying to be the person to do the first 3 minutes and get out of the way. And many didn't want to do that, but that's okay. And some others began to see people doing something where they stretched just a little. So the question is you look at how your operation, what is the culture? What's a way to get even further back to the smallest step and let people be glorified for this little step? And that's where it begins. Sometimes you get people going, and along the way, you'll find those unique people, those weird, crazy ones who they, like Lisa, just kept going and going and going. And maybe not here, but one day she could tell a story of how she got suckered into her first meeting. It was hysterical. But that's what it is. Give people an opportunity. You'd be surprised how much they will take it up.
I would say, and I think this is important if you are a leader. Leaders want to help people. It's inherent. Sometimes we want to help people more than they want to help themselves. But here's what I know. You can help a person by helping them a little bit. If you really want to help them grow, you ask them to help you. So that's what Curtis said was such a distinction. Hey, Adrian, can you please, just introduce these few people? Or Marcy, I know that you don't like to talk in front of crowds, but you have such a great product story. The product's done so much for you. Nobody can tell your story like you. You can't possibly do it wrong. Could you please share that story tonight? Because I feel like there are people in the audience that could make a real difference in their lives. This is how you get people to step into their own greatness, because everybody wants help, but that's in a victim mindset. We always want to help people, but people want to be seen and feel valued and feel like they made a contribution and they matter even more.
Yeah.
So true.
So help them by asking them to help you, I guess.
Because when people are new, sometimes they may be fearful. And sometimes if there's an open opportunity to engage in some way, then all of a sudden they're willing to do that. So that's a question for all the leaders who might be listening to this or at some point. Have you developed ways that in the least threatening and most rewarding or most applauded way, just little bitty things in a digital world where everybody's staying at home, where someone could do just a little thing and then you watch their eyes light up, and maybe that's as far as they go. That's okay. That's their choice. But it's amazing what happens. That's what leaders do. They're always looking for ways to figure out how to give the most an opportunity to do just a little and then applaud them for the courage to actually do that little thing. And you'd be surprised how much faster you start getting some real leadership growth.
You know what? And here's the thing. Achievers make money. And management people build good businesses. But great leaders build people.
Oh.
And network marketing, more than anything, is great people finding other people, helping them discover their greatness if they so choose, and help building them so that they can amplify the message, and allowing everybody else along the way to make their own decision about how far they want to go. But you're always looking not necessarily to duplicate yourself in business, but we're all looking for legacy. If I've spent 36 years doing this, who's going to carry the baton? I want to give that to somebody else. And that's really what it is. When something becomes about your legacy or the legacy of what you're creating, or thinking about it in terms of if you are not there yourself to serve it, that is when your business and your contribution and your leadership all accelerate simultaneously together at the same time. That's the tipping point.
Which then let me bring it back to where you first started, the very beginning of this conversation, Adrian, where you said, there's so much change, so much going on, and what do you perceive? I believe that because we've all seen it, we've seen companies suddenly just announce on a Monday, we made a decision over the weekend, we're out of network marketing, going a different direction, here we go. And we've seen it happen more and more. We see companies, people saying, nobody wants to do this anymore. They just want to be an affiliate or an influencer. And there's a ton of people, that's what they want to do. But here's the thing. There are still companies that are rock solid. They are growing. And without a doubt, they have products or services that provide the value that the people would consume them. But they have a culture. Hopefully, you have a culture that is corporately embedded as well as within true leaders of the company. But I've seen where there are organizations that the leadership is so strong in the way they lead their teams, you couldn't pry many of those team members out with a crowbar, because they do it in the way that is kind of how we've described. And so where I think the future of network marketing comes back where I started. The magic of who we are is not the next great berry from the Amazon or whatever it may be. It's that done properly, if the product or service does what it's supposed to do, it's a place where true relationship, true respect, true leadership, which is about making it, as Lee said, it's not a selfie world, turn the camera around, and it's always looking for those whom you can encourage to grow a little bit more than they did yesterday. And if that happens, those companies have nothing to fear. And that's a cultural issue. That's not a technology issue, or we've got to figure out how to compete with Amazon stores or anything. That's not the issue. And so I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to see a filtering. And I think we will see companies that say they're network marketing today, but I don't know that many of them ever truly embraced what is the magic of this profession. And those who have will be here for a very long time.
That's so cool. And you're right. I think there are when you look at companies who leave the model, they left the model because they didn't ever understand the model to begin with. If you're on the model, like if you understand network marketing, you would never leave it because you understand that that's the knitting of who you are and you're going to get the most out of it. But if you don't, then, I guess this is just another channel and maybe we'll do affiliate or we'll go do this other thing instead or whatever it is. And that's so powerful. And, I was thinking, Lisa, as you were talking about this legacy thing, right? And the legacy that you leave, the legacy of what you have done, and obviously the title of the show, or the name of the show being Legacy Leadership, but to have, obviously the last 6-9 months were never in your plan, and yet
I don't know that the last 36 years were ever in my plan. I can promise you, my mother never pounced me on her knee and said, when you grow up, you're going to go talk about water filters, in people's living rooms, which is where I started. But
fair enough.
But we certainly understand that it's definitely taken an altered road the last 6-8 months.
But the last 5 years,
Sure.
I think the only thing we can ever be certain of in life is change.
Yeah.
I think that you have to have an internal compass of knowing yourself, because all the things we want to count on aren't things you can count on. Who knows what happens externally when you get up tomorrow? The only thing you can be sure of, if you get up tomorrow, because you can't be sure of that, is how are you going to face that day? So I didn't plan the last couple of years. We lost Jessie Lee Ward. She was 34 years old. making an impact, and probably one of the most irreplaceable, not that anybody is replaceable, but in many ways the best at this profession I'd ever met. And that was at 34.
Yeah.
Who knows? And we lost her to cancer. And on 3 days after the anniversary of her death, and that hit me very hard, she was a bonus daughter to me. I loved her. I loved everything about working with her and our personal relationship. 3 days after the anniversary of her death, I found out I had breast cancer. Didn't plan for that. Somewhere in those 36 years, as many of you know, I spent a year in a federal prison camp. Didn't plan for that either. However, in both of those situations, network marketing was there to sustain and help my family, because it can grow and build if you do your job right and you're focused on what that job is, and you help other people create success in their own lives. This creates leverage and possibility for you. And I don't want anybody to go to prison. Please, God turns up the volume, listen. I certainly wouldn't wish cancer on anybody. This has been a tough 6 months, and I got great news. I've had some disappointments. I was having the most modern, all-in-one, going to be 10 hours surgery. I was going to go to sleep. They were going to take everything they needed to take, including the cancer. I was going to wake up with a brand new, beautiful chest built from my own tissue. And instead, I had a 13-hour surgery that 5 days later, the reconstruction failed, and a hell of a long recovery that I'm still going through. But in the middle of all those disappointments, I got really great news. And that was that my numbers are as good as my doctors could hope for. Less than a 4% chance of reoccurrence with a cancer that can kill me over the next 9 years. And encircling all of this chaos and confusion and pandemics and craziness, network marketing, with all that people can say about it that they don't like or wish it could be improved. I've been able to deal with those crises and those moments in my life, knowing that I have been able to create enough of a cushion for myself and had enough of an income that I could deal with what I had to deal with without the added pressure of having to worry about that too. So anybody who wants to tell me it doesn't work, if you believe that, that's true for you. Anybody who wants to say that people have had bad experiences and all that, yeah, some people have. I read just last week, that somebody got food poisoning in a restaurant, and that restaurant was shut down. Oh my God, let's never go to another restaurant again. It means restaurants don't work. The logic defies me of how people come up with what they come up with.
Yeah.
But I will say that in lifetime, I believe that what you put out in the world is what you get back. And if you approach the world with suspicion, people are going to be suspicious of you. If you do not trust others, people are not going to trust you. If you do not believe that something is going to work, the world is not going to show up and make it work for you. So, facts are facts, but our truths are our interpretations. So take what you want. Do you want to believe in a world where you can get ahead and create a whole new vision, a whole new reality for your life, your family, for the people that you know, love, and care about? Or do you want to believe the way it is the way it will always be, and if it changes at all, it's only going to get worse? Either one can come true for you. I just prefer to I'm a cockeyed optimist who likes to lock into empowering hope, empowering thoughts and beliefs, and then anchor them with all the evidence I can find to support them. And I don't have a problem if 100 people or 100,000 people don't agree with me, because if I'm willing to keep sharing what I believe in, I'll find those who do. That's the crux of how I see it and how I've gotten through good times, bad times, and everything in between. Is that what you were asking?
It 100% is. And I think it's more, and I'm glad you answered it differently at first than I expected. And I liked the way you answered it, because what happened the last 6-9 months in cancer and everything else, that's just an example of something that's happened and repeated itself in different ways over and over again. And you have continued to lean into a model that isn't all about you, it's not the Lisa show, it's not the Curtis show, it's not the Tom show. It is about how do we enable and empower the people around us, and that makes it so that everybody wins. And
here's what's really interesting about the opportunity we have every day. You can meet other people and be a mirror for them that helps them see a bigger picture and grow their lives. But only if you are willing to have met yourself in the mirror. If you have not willing to have met yourself in the mirror first, you will go out, and when you look at other people, you will only find in them the things that upset you the most about yourself.
Yeah.
And that is important if you want to go build great relationships with people who want to go do great things and have fun together. Because if everybody's only looking at other people, finding fault with them because they don't want to deal with themselves, then that is not a really fun group I want to spend a lot of time with. And I certainly don't want to be the person who was the catalyst for having that kind of an attitude and collecting a whole bunch of people so we could amplify it. If I've learned anything, if I've gotten reminded about anything by this cancer, it is simply that we can live in grievance or gratitude, but you can never do both at the same time. And I'm so grateful for so many things, but I also realize that no matter how many times I go through something that reminds me how grateful I need to be, we just get really all caught up in stuff that doesn't matter, that ain't that big a deal. There is so much emotion and anxiety over nonsense. And when you deal with something like a death of someone who's close to you, or yourself getting cancer, or big things, you start to realize that stuff was just nonsense. It's noise. Why get caught up in it? Be the person who doesn't stop to have those conversations, because if you are, you'll get there first. While everybody else is getting distracted by unimportant stuff, if you can shirk that off and keep your eye on the prize and the vision, you will get there first. You will get to the top of the mountain first, and all the people that were laughing at you, you will be sitting there waiting for them when they get to the top, if they ever get there, and say, I'm glad you showed up. It's been really quiet up here while I've been waiting on you.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome. Huge wisdom.
Yeah.
You guys, I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. And it just, I enjoy these conversations so much. It's really fun to get to play them out in public and to let others get to benefit. Oh my gosh. Hello, Barb Pitcock.
Hey, Barb.
There was a comment that somebody threw across, and it came in from Mumbai, and I'm sorry, I didn't see the name. I was reading the comment. It said, in today's world, how do you inspire these kids to see a vision of what it can be like in the future in 30, 40 years? I don't know that there's a specific answer on how you do that. How do we make youngsters see a vision of 30, 40 years? I don't think that's what happens. I think what it is that you make that decision, you make that commitment, and you remember that they're where they are at that time. The question is, are you always consistent in who you are?
Oh, so Curtis, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just saw the question. I hope you meant 3 to 4 years to build a consistent residual income, because I believe in patience, and I believe you have to invest.
I was kind of getting there.
30 to 40 years to build residual income. I wouldn't be convincing them to do that. I wouldn't try to be convincing them to do that. That's called corporate America and a pension.
Yeah, I was about to say we probably ought to adjust that. But here's the thing: some kids, they don't even have a vision of 3 months from now. That's what's not going to happen. What it is by staying that course and being rock solid. I love the name of the show, Legacy Leadership. When we lost Jessie Lee, I got a text from someone that was very insightful. It was literally within hours. We'd been texting back and forth, and then she passed. And I was actually standing in the parking lot of the hospital, and I talked to what an amazing legacy was left. And he gave me a great new insight. Legacy is not left. In other words, you don't leave it. Legacy is there for those who have both the courage and commitment to pick it up and carry it forward. And so that's the question. Are you creating that environment, and are you creating that place where people see in themselves the ability to pick up that and carry forward that with you while you're there, and then whatever it is beyond? And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And that's why it's about leading with intention, leading with vision, encouraging those to come with you, and those who do, sharing with them how they can grow in the process, knowing at any given moment they can stop and not take the next step. We still love them with all we can, but that's their choice, because there will be others, and eventually you'll find those few. But that's where it starts. You aren't leaving a legacy. You carried it forward from someone who passed it to you. My mentor helped me. I've tried to help mentor others. Hopefully many of them will mentor others as well. And I think that's ultimately what has to happen. And along the way, you'll just find the folks who decide they're caught up in it, and they're with you, and that's where you build that rock solid team over time, and that's where you really make a difference long term. And then get off the stage and let them have it. There you go.
All right, we got to get out of here, or the show's going to be too long to go on the real radio. We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for a great show. What
Thanks
a blessing.
for having us on. It was fun.
So fun. Share this. We've got the amazing Kim Kiyosaki next week. Thanks, everybody.
I love Kim. Please tell her when you talk to her, and I'll come say it in the text, but please tell her I said, hey.
I will for sure. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Love you guys too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.